What is up, geeks and geekettes? It is a very special edition of the Countdown City Geekcast because it is official. The DC Universe projects have been revealed for the next 8 to 10 years, and we're here to discuss them. And we want to hear from you, whether you're excited or not. I'm Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, the one, the only, Matty B.
It's Matty B. Waters again today. It's 11:46 here Central Standard Time, so apologize without the christening of the opening of the can. But I think there was another type of can open today, a can of worms, if you will. And I think that we got plenty to talk about. I hope that some of you have seen the video already from the major slate of DC announcements. If not, you can get them right here with us because I'm going to see the James Gunn video for the first time here. I haven't seen it yet.
We got Mr. Kevin in the chat. Hey, Ted, I know this is a DC, but I joined the Central Ghostbusters after what took place with the Lansing. Congrats, brother. It's great information. Glad to hear it. Well done, sir. Yes, and I think what we're going to start out with is just the initial list of projects. So once again, if you're just joining us, DC Studios have revealed their slate for the next 8 to 10 years, which includes TV series, films, as well as animated projects. And we're going to give you a list of them right now. And then we're also going to hear from the man himself, James Gunn, talk about these in a little more depth. But kind of the big one that we were hopefully going to get, we were all expecting. James teased it a lot. Superman, the new film titled Superman Legacy, coming out July of 2025. It seems far away. It really does. But projects of this magnitude require time and care and dedication and a whole lot of effort. So, yes. Also dropping in 2025, The Batman Part 2, October 3rd, 2025. Uh, your thoughts about those two? Those are sort of the big movie projects that we got. What are your thoughts about those?
For sure. So it's obviously 2025 feels a major ways away. But Ted, I just sent you a link. If you could pull that up real quick about the 2025 major releases. This is from all studios, all franchises. I think DC has really etched themselves a nice little corner here because we have the Avengers Kang Dynasty coming out that same year. I think one of the biggest questions that I have is which of these movies is going to make $1 billion? Because I think Avengers Kang Dynasty is going to make $1 billion. I think it will, right? It's like
Absolutely.
obviously the Batman Part Two. I think we want to see that movie. Rumors are that I've heard as of recently, meaning 5 minutes ago, that because we didn't get any Dick Grayson announcements from James Gunn, that we're going to potentially see some Dick Grayson action in the Batman Part 2 in the Reeves verse. So keep your eyes on that rumor.
Say it again for the people who missed that part. Batman Part 2. The rumors are we could see our first yeah, I think is it our first?
No, no,
Our
Dick
second.
Grayson.
Our
Chris O'Donnell
second.
was Dick
Chris
Grayson.
O'Donnell was the first one. So our second live action Dick Grayson on the big screen. There you go. That's fantastic. I hope they do it. I really do.
And I mean, the only reason why we even came across this rumor, it is right now only speculation, is because it was trending. Dick Grayson was trending on Twitter as we were pulling up our news sources. I'm looking at what's trending now. Even above DC Studios right now is hashtag Fire James Gunn.
Oh my gosh.
So this shows a little bit of the toxicity coming around. The thing that I'm most excited about from all the announcements we got today, I think everyone would agree, is this new Superman story. This is going to keep our butts in our seats for quite some time, staring at the screens, looking for any updates as far as casting, potential plots, um, you know, how this is sort of going to take place, and if some of these sort of remnants of the Snyderverse that we know that we're still keeping up until the Flash resets everything. How that's going to set up this new universe that Superman's going to take in. So, I mean, we have a lot of content between now and 2025 to sort of keep us going. So, I'm confident in that at least.
Absolutely. We got a lot more projects, but we don't have a whole lot of dates. So these next projects don't have any dates attached to them, but we're going to talk about them anyways. The third project announced, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I also believe this is a full feature film, but we'll also get clarification once we watch the James Gunn featurette. Another movie that was announced, The Brave and the Bold, which will be DCU's introduction of both Batman and Damian Wayne himself, who we've not ever seen in live action, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be pretty amazing to kind of see not only a new Batman, won't be Robert, won't be Ben, it'll be a completely new Bruce Wayne under the cape and cowl, and his biological son Damian Wayne, which I think you mentioned it before we started, because we're getting a Damian. Usually that means we've already had previous Robins in that universe, and so there is a possibility maybe of seeing some other sidekick of the Dark Knight beforehand. I think that's a possibility. I don't know if it's 100%, but definitely those are two other major projects, and then a third one which I am also excited about, Paradise Lost. It's a Wonder Woman HBO Max series, based on Themyscira. So they said it's going to get real action, real drama driven. So I feel like that's another potential big project. Any of those excite you at all?
Oh, 100%. I want to see who they cast as a new Wonder Woman after, Gal's exit from the universe. And Paradise Lost sounds really interesting to me based on the story and where Wonder Woman comes from, whether that be her trying to defend, or whether it be her trying to find, um, her origin. So I think that that's going to be a really cool story. Um, the Damian Wayne thing, I think is really cool. Trust me, I love Bruce Wayne's story and everything, but we've been up and down Bruce Wayne's story through animation, through movies, through TV. I mean, we have that story. I'm excited for a new type of Batman. I know for a long time we had been wanting the Batman Beyond sort of scenario. Um, that sort of thing. But I think the reason why we really just wanted that was we were craving just a different Batman story. So setting up Damian Wayne there, I think, is going to be awesome. I just hope that they don't do it like they treated what's Superman's son in Titans,
Connor.
Connor. Right. So I just hope it's not like that where it's
It
like
shouldn't be. It really shouldn't. You can't replicate that level of weird awkwardness in that
yeah.
show. I don't know how they pull it off, but they pull it off beautifully every single time, and beautifully in an awkward way. It's so damn awkward. Raymond says the Batman and Damien was a good story from Grant Morrison. Yes, and this movie, The Brave and the Bold, is actually going to be inspired by the comic run from Grant Morrison. So any Morrison fans out there should be thrilled with that announcement. Jamie Hodges is in the chat. Report all ghosts. He says, I trust James Gunn. Before Reitman, I pegged him as a good person to helm the future of Ghostbusters. And let's not forget, Gunn technically did a young horror themed Superman film, Brightburn, which was pretty solid for like an indie hero movie, in my opinion. And they all had also teased potential future films with other heroes turned bad, and so that was like a really interesting universe. And I
Oh,
kind of
for
feel like
sure.
we'll never get to see anything happen again, which is
Well,
unfortunate.
Brightburn was a pretty good movie, right? But that's an amazing accomplishment considering that it was a Superman movie that got everything Superman pulled out of it. I mean, to still be a watchable movie and not be able to use anything Superman related in what's basically a Superman film. It was a good turn of events for them, I think.
Jamie also says if we have a Wallace series that is the same actress as Peacemaker, technically some of the Snyderverse is still intact. I'm getting ahead, but worth noting, you are getting slightly ahead, but you are correct. Uh, Another project announced, an Amanda Waller TV series featuring Viola Davis reprising her role as Amanda Waller. If nothing else gets right by James Gunn, him bringing back Viola Davis for this role of Amanda Waller,
Yeah.
I will give you the credit there because I don't want to see anybody else try to replace or fill Viola Davis's shoes playing Amanda Waller. It's like Angela Bassett in Black Panther too. You can't get any better than that right now. So bringing back Viola Davis is key, and he's doing right by the fans by doing that. Also announced Creature Commandos, which is sort of like a spin-off of Suicide Squad, should also feature Amanda Waller, by the way. There's also an announced Booster Gold project. There is a Lanterns project. I believe this is also a series. And breaking news, the Green Lanterns project will focus on John Stewart as well as Hal Jordan. So,
Mm.
tremendous, because last night we talked about this and I'm like, anybody but Guy Gardner. You got Stewart and you got Jordan. I'm all in on the Lanterns project, and I hopefully that's going to be an amazing thing. Last two projects announced, The Authority, and the final one I'm also stoked about, a live action film of Swamp Thing. If you watched the HBO Max series, they did it right, and they should have extended it, but some people can't do finances really well, and so that project unfortunately was canceled. But a film project of Swamp Thing would be tremendous. Let's see. Ray says Damien is also next level Batman, and Lozano's in the chat saying tremendous. Jamie
Yeah.
says, so where are we putting Chris Pratt in this equation? Ooh, you know what? I mean, Pratt as Booster Gold. I could probably see that, but
I'm done with Pratt. Let Pratt do. Pratt's in everything, dude.
he
No,
isn't everything. I
leave
still
him out
want
of the.
I still want Nathan Fillion to kind of do something of note in the DC universe, and he's already had a small role in the previous the Suicide Squad, right? But maybe nobody really kind of will put that two and two together. It's a multiverse. He can do something else. Maybe Booster Gold is in the future cards for him. Who knows? Maddie, out of those final projects, Booster Gold, Amanda Waller TV series, The Lanterns Project, The Authority, Swamp Thing, any of those excite you at all?
Oh yeah, the Lanterns Project is number one for me on that list. One is the hardest one to do, and it's a similar problem that Marvel even had with the Hulk early on in some of those early iterations. It's just a difficult thing to realistically bring to screen, and the Lantern's abilities and powers are difficult to adapt to a realistic story. I think that's been some of its problem in the past, and so I'm just hoping that that one is really really good. Honestly, you can miss me with Booster Gold and some of that stuff. Like, um, I don't really care about that at all, to be honest with you. I'm more concerned with how he's going to treat our core characters, and then any fun offshoots that we get from that. Um, I'm most concerned with. So the lanterns for me on that list is what I'm most interested in seeing.
Absolutely. And I also will kind of reiterate this now and probably at the end of this video. This isn't every project. This is not everything that's happening within the next 8 to 10 years. That's sort of the time frame that James wants to cover. These are just the ones that are moving forward. And as I mentioned yesterday on our stream, It will be very smart for DC to only announce projects they 100% know are moving forward. Quit messing around with the fans' hearts and all that stuff. So, without any further ado, we're going to listen to the man himself, James Gunn's official announcement, and then we'll be right back here for some post discussion. So, stick around, turn your volumes all the way up. Let's hear the man himself, James Gunn.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Oh, man. So there you hear it from the man himself, James Gunn. That is tremendous. Hearing him talk about the projects as passionate as he is kind of heightens the hype even more so. If you were unsure about some of these projects, hearing him talk about it and the amount of effort and dedication to not only putting great stories onto these screens, but also the emphasis on bringing actors from live action to voicing them in animation form and vice versa. Just the amount of challenges he's going to be facing trying to keep this universe as cohesive as possible throughout TV, film, animation, and video games. It's incredible. It's tremendous. Lots of comments in the chat. Let's see here. Dave says Flash got so much hype. Yes, it does. It really does. And now James Gunn. I mean, you're getting his stamp of approval on it. So we'll talk about that in a second. Gods and Monsters is a great first chapter name. It really is. The Authority have Silverhawk looking costumes. Is this a DC equivalent? It might be the DC equivalent to the Silverhawks of Marvel. Love the concept for Supergirl. Storytelling is king. Elseworld is cool, says Raymond. And David also says, where the hell was Peter Safran, though? LOL. He's a numbers guy. He's going to be the numbers guy moving forward. And I think that's okay. You have, one guy doing, focusing on the content, one guy focusing on the budgets and the money. And I think that's kind of cool. Jamie Hodges says, kind of bummed. No Constantine yet, which is interesting because we did get an official announcement, right? And who's going to turn down Keanu? This could be another Elseworlds project that is in development. So, again, I'll say it one more time. I'll just repeat it once more. These 10 projects are not everything. There will be more announced soon. Not sure when. And let's see here. David also says Lanterns true detective style sounds like my jam.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
It really
I'm
does.
really excited about that, and I love how he said it's a terrestrial thing. So, it's going to be, you know, I like that. If it's like a supernatural, like True Detective type of scenario, that sounds awesome. Obviously, the brave and the bold is big there. It's Jamie's Hodges comment for me is really just ringing home right now, where he said, "I'm ready to be hurt again," and so I don't. We just had this bad breakup, and I'm trying to get back out into the dating world. And I had a date, maybe two, but like this third date, I mean, it's like, wow, this person I could be with. I'm struggling not to fall back into old habits. a falling in love too fast. But um, I don't know, man. It all sounds really fun. I can tell you that. Nothing that was just announced there is like, well,
Nothing is what, like terrible, or nothing is too exciting?
oh, nothing's bad. I mean,
Nothing's
even like
bad. Yeah.
I don't care about Booster Gold, but I mean, if if he fits into the storyline and like that, like the way he explained it made it sound like it was good. Obviously he's a salesman, but
Yeah, just find the right actor to play him, and like if you get the right person in that role, I think that will bring audiences to the theater, and I think that's all you need is the right person for that role, whoever that may be. If you have any ideas, throw your fan cast in the chat for Booster Gold. Let us know who that is. The really interesting thing that I kind of picked up on that he mentioned about the Lanterns project is that they are going to be the ones to reveal or unravel this plot that is going to be the focus of the entire DCU. So we do have some sort of Thanos like threat, villain arc that affects the entire DCU, which is great. It's not that we needed the announcement, but the fact that, that's your confirmation right there. The whole DCU will at some point converge on some sort of plot or enemy threat or intergalactic forces that they need to protect the planet from. So that convergence, maybe an Avengers Justice League type event could happen at the end of this chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters, which I'm trying to remember the animated film that was based on the comics, because Gods and Monsters was it was a multiverse event, if I'm not mistaken. Raymond, if you're still in the chat, help me out here.
I
I
think you're right.
believe I believe Gods and Monsters was a multiverse story arc in which um you had a different multiverse Superman, and you had the Batman that actually like bit people like he was a real vampire. And so it is interesting that he would use that name. Will it play into this overarching story across the DCU? I think that's the main question that fans are going to be asking between now
Yeah.
and later down the road.
Well, it's
Let's
interesting because in Gods and Monsters, because I just look because I remember that too, and I remember it being really odd.
Yeah.
So Superman was the foster son of illegal immigrants. Batman was a vampire,
Yep.
and I mean, so that's pretty interesting. You would assume that he's pulling some kind of inspiration for some of these stories from somewhere in there to give it basically the same name.
Yeah. I would think so. He knows this stuff. He's a comic book fan, so he's not going to do anything that doesn't have some sort of meaning or value to it. And that's just my opinion, but strongly put that much emphasis on what he does. Every action that he takes, every sentence, every word, every description. Yeah, fantastic. Um, I love how he kind of described the Wonder Woman project as Game of Thrones style. Like, hey, I'm down with that. I'm sure
Hell
you
yeah,
would be down with that too.
yeah. And the way he explained it was what I thought, just based on the name. So I mean, yeah, that sounds awesome. Casting, I think, is going to be where director choice and casting is going to be where some of these things succeed or fail. And I mean, the base storyline, kind of where we're going with some of these characters of what he's announced. I mean, it's something that everybody can get on board with. It's just a matter of how they cast it and who direct it. Um,
You
because
had you had some information on the projects outside of the DCU that we know are moving forward, right?
yeah, it's the links in the chat.
Let's see.
In our private chat.
There you go. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Um, Still moving forward, even though it wasn't discussed thoroughly. We did hear about the Batman Part 2. Joker 2 still moving forward. That's going to be outside the DCU. And lastly, the Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman project, which was going to be sort of a multiverse Superman story, that is also moving forward. So we're not only getting the legacy film by James Gunn, there will be an additional Superman project that is moving forward as well. So, like I mentioned, there are more projects that are definitely happening, but it is pretty exciting. Superman Legacy, if you're just joining us, Superman Legacy coming out 2025. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Swamp Thing, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, all films that have been announced for the first chapter of the DCU, also titled Gods and Monsters. James Gunn says he's halfway through writing his Superman film. Let's say he finishes the next half by the fall. Production could probably start early 2024, probably a 5 to 6 month project. That puts them in the fall of 2024 when they finish. Maybe by the winter they finish editing. The movie's all prepped and ready to go by July 2025. These other films, Supergirl, Swamp Thing, The Authority, Brave and the Bold. Let's all hope that we get at least two of these films every year. So maybe two in 2025, two in 2026, two in or one in 2027, along with maybe the other Superman project. But he says this is the next 8 to 10 year plan. Does that start now, like 10 years from now? So by 2033 is when we're gonna have like an Avengers level event, or is it 10 years from 2025? That's the real question. I'm wondering how long this is going to go out, but it is exciting.
Oh, I just don't want to be 43.
I'm almost there, so I can't complain. Let's see, 90% is casting, says Dave Lozano. He also says Zach Efron as Booster Gold. That's not a bad choice. I could see that happening. uh, Raymond says it's going to be crazy that actors will play the cartoons um, and live action. It's actually going to be both, yeah. And then let's see, Star Wars and Superman film in the same year. Yes, because
Yep.
that's the next project, right? 2025.
Yeah, pull up that list that I sent you. So this is what Superman Legacy is going to have competing in 2025. And something else is trending right now, and this is just the toxicity of fan bases. But Fire James Gunn is trending right now, and as I look through it, um, I it seems to be the general consensus is that none of these movies that he's announced are going to be able to make $1 billion. We would assume Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, by the time we get there, will come close, right? Usually, the big bad movie in Avengers.
Oh yeah, I any Avengers movie just because it has Avengers in the title is probably a
Yeah.
guaranteed billion.
So I don't know, a first go out Superman Legacy movie is going to come close to a Billy. And then you also have an untitled Star Wars movie out in the same year. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is going to do incredibly well, very very popular. The Batman Part Two isn't going to make $1 billion. There's an untitled Marvel movie, so we'll figure out what that is down the road. The Fantastic Four might make $1 billion,
It probably will. Yeah, I would say so.
and so that I think that's kind of where we're going. So I think the Batman and Damian story, while it's what DC fans want, it's not the most familiar story. You see what I'm saying? I don't know which of those projects. Do you think any of them announced are going to, even the TV ones? Do you think they're going to compete with like a Game of Thrones or some of these other more
Um,
popular shows?
it's interesting, right? I think that the lanterns could be a big hit because of what you and I talked about,
Yeah,
getting into the cosmic things of DC, but doing it right this time. There's a lot to explore there. Like yesterday, I said there's all these other rings. We've not even scratched the surface on the lore of the lanterns. Um, I think that Superman Legacy might get enough hype to get close to a billion. The Batman Part Two, I Batman movies are really based on villains. If you have like incredible villains, I think that drives people to the theater as much as Batman does. So depending on who the villain is of Part Two, will probably decide or determine whether or not it's a major blockbuster hit or if it's sort of a mediocre hit as the previous Batman was. As good as a movie as it was, it it probably didn't generate as much as WB had hoped. But I think when the villain gets revealed, hopefully it's not that weird Joker that we saw in the last one.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens. I would
and
I would
hopefully it's
love
rewatchable. It got hurt in the fact that it's not a rewatchable movie because a lot of people go see it multiple times in
yeah.
theaters when it's
Uh,
something really good. I remember when I hated the trilogy of Star Wars, but I went back and watched each of those movies probably 4 or 5 times in the theater, each one of them.
yeah, for
And
sure.
so I would never go back and watch the Batman in theaters again. I can barely watch it on HBO Max in the house. I loved it the first time I saw it, though. Don't get me wrong. So hopefully they just. I agree. I think we need a tantalizing villain to sort of get you up there. But Star Wars can get close to a Billy as long as they do the right thing, um, and have a good story involved there, and they hype it up right. We both of the Marvel movies have potential to get to a billion. And then Superman, if you're going to lead with any character to try to get up to that number, I mean, Superman's a pretty good one, right? I mean, he's one of the most popular superheroes of all time.
If
So
it's
I
if
don't
it's
think
the
it's going to
right
flop.
no, no, no. If it's the right actor, and I know that sounds weird because it's going to be more than likely an unknown individual or somebody who hasn't had a lot of projects out there, because he is looking for a younger Superman, someone who can actually carry the mantle for a decade without any trouble. So, and it's going to be weird. It's being almost 40 for myself. I'm at this weird place where like all the superheroes are going to be younger than me, and that's never been a thing for me before. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's going to be a weird era in my life where all these heroes on film are now like they look like kids to me, even though they're adults, but they're all going to look like kids, and
Mhm.
that's just what happens when you get older, I guess. Um, I think even like Brave and the Bold, it could be a great story if you get the right kid to play Damien. You write him a very specific way. He's got an attitude. He's aggressive. He's got a smart ass mouth on him. Like it could be a lot of fun. You just have to find the right actor to play him, and you have to put a legit villain in there. Because it's Damien, you probably start messing with Ra's al Ghul. Throw the League of Shadows or League of Assassins, whatever they want to call them this time around in there. That could be pretty dope, and you get a great Ra's, and then we're back on top if you get a great guy or to play him. So I think
Yeah,
that would be
because
tremendous.
Damien's like an assassin, right? So So yeah, it would have to be Raj. Raj Al Ghul makes sense, but it would be cool if, like, I don't know, if there wasn't just like one big bad they're kind of chasing down the whole time. There could be multiple villains in here, and
Sure.
some of them just aren't the big bad. They just have to lock them up again, and they break out or whatever it might be, while they're also trying to take care of this other larger problem. Um, but there's some villains we haven't seen on screen yet that I think would get a lot of pull, and it's not going to be the Penguin, it's not going to be the Joker because those are kind of in the elsewheres, right?
Right.
So, um, and they did Raj Al Ghul pretty good in the Nolan verse. I mean, I like the way that they tied them in there, but seeing them come back wouldn't be the worst in kind of a different way.
Let's see here. Also, what will I think really matter is this overarching threat or plot across the DCU. Who will that villain be, right? Because if it's a Lantern villain, let's go with like a guy like Atrocitus with the Red Lanterns. That would be a big bad dude that would generate a lot of buzz with general audiences. You want a Thanos like figure, a Kang like figure, someone formidable, someone menacing, someone that is interesting to people, and see how these heroes stack up against him. So this Lantern series, whenever they reveal this overarching plot, if it's a big bad like that, and we get some sort of Justice League movie where they converge on this threat, that's $1 billion because of how big that threat level is. Fans want to see that. Fans want to see big, great villains almost more or equal as to the heroes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but
Um,
I mean, you got the Brainiac. You have,
Brainiac
um,
would be amazing. They could
yeah,
do it.
and
They could do it great.
Victor Savage, right?
Vandal Savage, yeah.
Vandal Savage. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sinestro. But the Brainiac would be pretty
I would
legit.
I would love Brainiac. That's what the Henry Cavill Man of Steel 2 was rumored to be about. Going up against Brainiac. That would have been incredible. That might have been $1 billion right there. Brainiac versus Henry Cavill. Everybody would have wanted to see that. So awesome. Well, I think that's it, man. We're gonna wait and see what else comes out regarding these projects, but there's a lot to be excited about. And if for nothing else, James Gunn promises that they're putting so much time and effort into every single story, every single project, and really set a strong foundation for this DC universe, which will span across, once again, TV, movies, animation, and video games. And so if he says that, I'm going to take him for his word. And I think that there could be some really bright future years for the DC universe and DC Comics if they're able to pull this off, and I hope they do. Is that the dog,
Yeah, Stanley, come on,
bro?
get yourself together. Um, but no, but I mean, it's gonna be good. We're gonna it's gonna have enough to keep us. Because wait until we get into script leaks and casting, and there's gonna be a lot of things to keep us occupied for 2 years for sure.
Absolutely. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Shout out to Dave Lozano over at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Retro Ray, who was in the chat. Jamie Hodges, Report All Goes. Shout out to him. Alex Spence, who's a big Swamp Thing fan. And everybody else. Kevin, who is now with the Central Michigan Ghostbusters team. Congrats, Kev. Happy for you, buddy. Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to check back tomorrow night when we have another episode of the Ghost Heads radio show. And then again, Thursday, if you're a wrestling fan, the WrestleCast is recapping the Royal Rumble and all the weekend festivities. There was a ton going on in our hometown. We were the center of the wrestling universe. Like, that's not an understatement. Every single big event in wrestling happened in like 3 days, and it was a lot of fun. So they're going to recap that on Thursday. Thanks for watching this special episode of the Geekcast. It's an exciting time. It's been a long time since DC fans had something to be excited about, something tangible to be excited about. It feels like we're not going to get the rug pulled out from under us this time, but that remains to be seen. For the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, my partner in crime, you know him as Matty B.
Bingo bongo, guys. Yeah, and tune into Ghost Heads Radio tomorrow. I think we're Jamie Hodges, who was in the chat, had a cool video. I think we're gonna check that out. And there was some new content, some DLC content. I believe that was released today for the Spirits Unleashed game. So tune in tomorrow. Until then, same geek channel, different geek time. Excited to see you guys tomorrow, and have a good rest of your day.
Absolutely. Stay